Today is going to be all around how we help each other in a tough environment to become better, but also to be mindful of what keeps us from achieving what we need to achieve. So look, as James just alluded to, I've been doing this quite a while. And through that, I've had some big ups and big downs, which James, you sort of alluded to at the start as well. And what I thought I would do is just maybe write that down, give you guys a bit of an idea of maybe some of the things that I've learned over the last 10, 15 years of selling. And maybe there's one or two things that you might take out of this that could be valuable for you at this point in time in your sales journey. So look, I'm going to share my screen. I've got a couple of slides to go along with this. So share screen. There we go. Right, folks. So you should be able to see the sales career framework slides. So I've broken it down into 3 areas. I've been fortunate enough to hit my annual quota quite a few times at different companies, be that at Mimecast, where I started my sales career, at SAP, where I ran one of the Concur mid-market divisions, and then when I joined at Clari as well, where we fostered and grew this team from a handful of individuals to quite a large organization across EMEA. And I've broken them down into 3 categories: the power of you, learning behaviors, and mindsets. And I want to dive into those a little bit as we go through. So the power of you. First and foremost, one thing I've learned over time is the power of listening. The power of actually taking a moment to understand the turn of phrase that your prospects are saying, using the types of wording that they're using on their websites, on their LinkedIn profile, as Sarah alluded to, on their Twitter accounts, on podcasts. Get to really understand the audience and become, as creepy as it sounds, a little bit of a chameleon. Now, this goes a long way, not only in terms of your internal and external communication, but also helps you become a sort of a partner, if you will, with those individuals as you're going through the sales cycle. The other one is escapism. Now, look, we don't live in a 9-to-5 anymore. It would be glorious if we did, I suppose. But the reality is it's not the world we live in. And so escapism is a big one. I'm not sure about the rest of the audience here, but for me, sitting in front of a computer screen all day is not good for my head. It's not good for my head. I need to escape. I need to get out. So look, do what you can and do what you must to put yourself in the best mental position to do what you need to do day in, day out. For me, it's all about exercise, a great way of releasing some of that burnout and that fatigue or annoyances that build up over time. Find what that is for you and really double down on it. Spend time, put time aside, be really, really strict about it because it will benefit you long term. On your why as well, behind why you've joined this business, why you're selling this platform, that's super important. When I was at Concur, I used to think that, look, I'm just selling an expense software. What does it really matter? Does it really have that much value to people? But actually, the reality was, if you ground it down and you looked at it from their perspective, on a Friday afternoon, they could still be in the office. They could have all those receipts in their bag, and they could be going through trying to expense those, put them through on a platform, and speak to their managers about what they are and are not allowed to put through. When in reality, that time, that effort could be spent with their family, with their friends. And look, it might sound a bit, wishy-washy, but the reality is that made me believe in what I was selling. And now I'm in a fortunate position where I'm selling to senior sales folks, CROs, RevOps leaders. I can really lean in. I can understand what they're doing, the stresses that they have in life. And that really helps me establish the why in what I'm selling at Clari and makes it that much more believable. And then the framework. Look, this took me a little while to actually really understand myself. But as a bit of a shoot at the hip kind of fella, I didn't really quite understand why I would need a framework. But actually being really strict about my day-to-day has been incredibly helpful, not just for myself, but my peers and my colleagues. It keeps me accountable. It helps me, my SDRs, my revenue operation teams, my managers, whoever it might be, sit beside each other with confidence and know exactly what we're doing day in, day out. It also reminds me to do important things like you can see on the screen there, which is at the end of the day, I try to put 10 minutes aside where I can actually take a moment and say, cool, what actually worked? What went well? What did I learn? How did I help the team? And when I was building out the team in EMEA, that was hugely important. And also set a precedence for tomorrow. Get ahead. I'm not saying I've done everything for tomorrow, but I'm doing the majority of what I need ahead of time so that I don't stress about what I need to create early in the morning. So that's the power of you. The next one is learning behaviors. Business acumen is hugely important in this world. As Sarah alluded to earlier on, it's probably the toughest moment for a lot of us in terms of selling. So when we do get in front of a customer or a prospect, we need to be able to build that trust. We need to be seen as a champion's trusted advisor and earn a seat at the table with execs and seniority within those businesses. Our CEO at Clari, Andy Byrne, talks about becoming masters of revenue. And we share proactively as teams, as individuals, from the top down, great insights, podcasts, Twitter, books you should be reading, whatever it might be to hone our craft. And we actually put time aside in our meetings as teams to go through some of those learnings so that we can deploy that in our own outbound messaging. Stakeholder management is also a huge one. I didn't really understand the value of stakeholder management from an internal perspective, certainly understood it from external. I've been hugely fortunate to sell to the house of the CTO. I've been selling to the CRO and the CFO. But get to learn who those individuals are, what really works for them, what really is their sort of top of mind focuses over the next 6 to 12 months. Because as Sarah alluded to, if you don't engage someone like the CFO as early as possible in your pursuits, you're going to fall flat. And if you're able to then reach out to them with a message that really resonates and hold their attention with confidence, you give yourself a ton of option to actually get that through the door. It's about making sure that, again, you're seen as a sponsor of that business and you really understand what they're trying to achieve. But leverage that insight internally as well. You're going to hit your head against a bloody wall half the time trying to get stuff done inside a business. Use your knowledge, get to learn about the teams internally, because it'll be super valuable when you talk to deal desk, legal, whoever it might be, to be able to support you. They're much more likely to turn around and go, actually, you know what, I'll put an arm around you, I'll help you, I'll get that done, if you're able to understand the world they live in. Mentorship's also a big one. And we all have managers, that's all well and good. And some of them are fabulous. Some of them are, sticklers for the tiny details, whatever it might be. But mentorship's huge. Steve McKenzie was my mentor when I was at Mimecast, continues to be during my time throughout my sales life. And he's always been there to be able to really listen as a mentor and not a manager. Understand what my challenges are. Allow me to sort of air my frustrations and generally sort of lean on his experience to get through different situations. And the last one is mindset, guys. So look, I've, as I alluded to, been very fortunate in my sales career. And some of that might be down to hard work and graft, but in reality, a lot of it comes down to my mindset. And that is that, look, I'm not always going to be the top of the ARR leaderboard. I'd love to be. I'm sure my wife would as well, but I'm not always going to be. So what I look to do is look for the little wins where I can. And that is simply by having that grit and urgent determination. And that might be, well, if I'm not going to be top of ARR, I can certainly be top of outbound. I can be top of ARR created or surfaced. And I can certainly be seen as a voice to help the team grow and foster if they have any questions or concerns. So all about sort of showing up day in, day out. Fostering growth is another one. I'm sure a lot of the audience here has been in the shoes of SDRs. I was an SDR when I started, 2 years in a basement in King's Cross, which is as glamorous as it sounds. And one thing I had that really resonated with me was a manager and a team member who always looked after me. And he supported my journey into becoming an AE. In fact, I then ended up shadowing him for 6 months. Do the same for your SDR and your marketing team. Look after them. If you provide them with what they need to foster and grow, to rant and rave, whatever it might be, you'll typically get a much better working environment, a willingness to do whatever it takes to help both of you achieve your numbers. And the last one, and you can ask James this one, I'm incredibly good at being stupid. I think it's probably my best trait. But the reality is, I love being the stupidest person in the room. If I'm doing that, I'm surrounding myself with the right kind of people. I want to be the best middleman. I want to pull in the relevant individuals to get the job done. And that's a skill that takes time, but learn to be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, because trust me, it will go a long way when you bring in the players that can actually get shit done. And this situation where we're selling to different stakeholders, things are getting a lot tougher. Just have that humility to actually take a step back and bring in the individuals that are going to help you.